I'm going to start with you. We've had some good news this week and last week, and that's positive announcements about a vaccine. What does this mean for the travel industry?
Well, no simple answers to that one. The beginning of the end. So what I mean by that is there's actually light at the end of the tunnel from COVID, where we've been struggling through for 6-9 months with no light at the end of the tunnel. I think most people have an expectation that vaccinations will start pre-Christmas. It'll take the winter to get the older generation and the health workers and the medically impaired, medically vulnerable, vaccinated. But the downside of that is it's unlikely to mean that holidaymakers, i.e. people under 50, younger people, will be vaccinated before the summer. So there's probably going to be a late surge in bookings. And I think an ultra-late market. And reversing it back to you guys, I think the biggest issue is the cost of testing at the moment at £125 a test, £250 a couple, or £500 a family. Would you book at the moment with that sort of cost of testing in place? Roxy?
Yes, Steve, that's a separate issue. If we can come to the cost of testing in a moment, because I think it is a very interesting issue. But let's just focus on the vaccine for the time being. David, what are your thoughts on this? Because I remember an earlier a webcast with you with Lucy Huxley, and you were saying that you wouldn't be someone that would be happy to take a vaccine.
I mean, I'm in that age group, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer, and I have had 3 flu jabs in consecutive years, and also a pneumonia jab. And it's my age group, because I'm I am much older than you two young lads. But you know, I think there's a principle here. You know, like when the WHO decided it was a pandemic and it was a phase 6 pandemic, then any liability that the vaccine people, the pharmaceutical people, when they're producing a vaccine, there's no liability on them all that its efficacy is okay, or that it doesn't kill people. And I think there's an issue here, right? And the industry's just shot into, right, and I think the population shot into it's vaccine or it's nothing, and you can't travel. And I think that's a massive legal issue, freedom issue. And it just seems as though Steve's saying, well, you know, like, thank God we've got this at the end of the tunnel, this vaccine. And I think we should kick back against it. If I'm a travel person, I get it, that it seems light at the end of the tunnel. But there is a moral issue here that people shouldn't be forced to have it, and even coerced to have it. And forced is one thing, but coerced means like, well, you can't get on that flight if you don't have a vaccine. And remember, once you've done that vaccine, then there'll be another one next year. And then should we all have a flu vaccine? And should we have a digital health passport? And you're going into realms that a lot of people kick off and say, well, I don't want it. I don't need it. And not only that, I have freedom to choose. Are you going to cut all these people out of traveling in the future? And I do think it's an issue for the industry. And I think the industry should have backed off a bit and not gone along this path saying, hey, it's a panacea. It's good. That's it. That's the solution. That's where I'm coming from. Cool,
okay, David, I don't agree.
I will take it if it's good for me. But I want to know, I'd like all the cabinet first to take it first. I want all the young ones to take it first, and then I can see that it's all right. Yeah? Enough people have to test it first before me. I'm not a bloody guinea pig. No way. Sorry, Steve, did you say something?
I agree with your principle, but I don't agree travel's doing the wrong thing, because you'll be allowed to travel if you either had the vaccine and got a health passport, or if you don't want to have the vaccine, you simply take the test before you go on holiday and test when you go back, so you don't have to quarantine.
Well, this is
so nobody's forcing people into it.
Why should I take the test that actually, in most times, will make sure that I am a false positive? Why should I be restricted? Listen, if there's a proper test, and you'll see the test in Liverpool where they do mass testing, and they've found that there's very, very few people infected, right? But the PCR test gives you, even though you can't infect anyone, will give you a false positive usually, because the cycle threads are too high. And therefore, you know, it's just, we are just pushing the industry and all ourselves into saying, listen, let's step up and say, listen, first of all, let's make sure the vaccine's right. Let's make sure the testing's right. Let's make sure that all that's right. And we've been pushed by the government into this kind of cul-de-sac. We're forced to either have the digital health passport or take the test. How many people want to do that? You know, security, take your shoes off now. You need a test. It'll take half an hour. In fact, it might take 2 days. You know, can we not tackle this by having, why have, and I'll say after, but why have the industry not employed the likes of top virologists themselves? Instead, they're listening to government to lead them through it, and the likes of Matt Hancock. And if you, I'm sure you agree with me, you would not employ Matt Hancock to do anything. All right, maybe to wash up, but that's probably the maximum. You wouldn't.
David, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in.
Jump in.
Right? I don't agree with you, because if you actually look at the UK travel industry at the moment, if we don't have a solution that allows people to travel this coming summer, the vast majority is going bust. So if you give me a choice of having no company, no job, or admitting and giving in to government pressure to take a vaccine, or government pressure to do testing to travel, I take it.
You're spot on there. So let's get like something that could kill us and stick it in our arm, because that's okay. Oh, and then we can all travel. Oh, no, you're right. You're right, Steve. Sorry, I never thought of that. What a solution, mate. I'll tell you what, you take it before me, and then I feel a lot better.
David, I volunteer to take it before you, because I don't see another alternative for the industry. And I think we're going to have some compromises, because other countries are not going to let our dirty, infected nation come into theirs unless we've had the vaccine, or we've had tests to say we're not bringing it back yet.
They're as daft as we are. Listen, do you not remember?
Yeah, but David, the world can't be right. We have to fit in with the world.
In 2009, right, Der Spiegel reported on swine flu, and there was a vaccine, and Angela Merkel was still there, and she took the vaccine, right? But it just so happened that they didn't tell everybody that she took a different vaccine than the plebs. Come on, man. You have to be serious. Like, get on the plane, and, you know, you'll be able to have business class, because I travel business class now. Be able to have business class, enjoy yourself, glass of champagne. It might be your last one because you might die. But it's okay because you've taken the vaccine. Come on, man.
Well, guys,
I don't think we'll get past this, because I think this is a moral issue.
Okay.
And I take you a point. Listen, mate, I take you a point. If you say, listen, we're talking about transaction, what's the best way we can make sure we fill our planes? Well, I get you, but I'm not into that, right? I get you, but I think there's a higher reason why you do or you don't. And
David, I completely support your questioning of it. I completely support your question of the government. I, for once, am going to be compliant, because I actually want to get the business working again in traveling, so we all don't go bust.
You're always compliant.
Oh, rubbish.
Be compliant.
Absolute rubbish. Moving on, Brooksy.
My question was,
right,
and I don't think you all listened, is not necessarily your personal opinion on the vaccine, but what the impact is going to be for our industry.
So can I have a go at that, David?
No, I answered that.
Okay, let me have my version of it then. Well, share prices went up by 40% of these lovely airlines, because the city thinks it's crucial to building back confidence. So consumers, on the other hand, have not rushed out to book at the moment, because the price of testing is too high, and also we're supposedly in the lockdown. So when lockdown ends, and no idea when that's going to be, because it's not going to be December, earliest probably is going to be February, then I think there is a lot of pent-up demand that will come out before we hit recession, because we can't forget we've also got Brexit to deal with. We've also got recession coming. So the longer term, it's not going to be a great couple of years. But I think there will be a short-term bounce back, because basically there is pent-up demand. I want to get out of this country. I want to go to some nice hot places like lovely David, sitting in Spain at the moment. Because it's cold and miserable in Rochdale, David.
I don't live in Spain. I live in Monaco.
Oh, sorry, darling.
No, don't mess with me.
You used to live in Spain, and you've moved for tax reasons. You tax exile.
If it's good enough for Lewis Hamilton, it's good enough for me.
I like that.
Listen, no, I need to come back on that. Listen, I get you regarding the testing. All that I'm saying, and this is, and you know, I still have a reservation, because I think we should have gone saying, listen, we don't want even testing. Just let's have no quarantine, and everybody's all right because the virus is gone. that's a different issue. But if you are having testing, and I wrote this the other day, I tweeted this the other day, the thing is, I cannot see the government, right, when it throws tests about like confetti, free tests about like confetti. And then as soon as you say, can the industry have testing, they say, 120 quid or whatever. Yeah. And
to be fair, David,
you're testing everybody that moves. They're free. And then suddenly it's, and I am a cynic enough to think the airlines, or particularly the airports, would like to charge people, right? Because, well, we may as well make some income, right? And I think if you're going to have testing, I don't like it, but if you're going to have testing, it should be free. And the government should provide it, because that's part of commerce. That's part of saving the airlines, is it not?
They're not going to do it. So the only option that we have, because they clearly indicated they're not going to do it. So the only option we have is asking for access to government stocks, because they've got the biggest stocks and the biggest capability given testing. And I think a consumer would pay £25 a person to have an outbound test and an inbound test if it's allowed to go on a holiday. Anything above that is a massive blocker to selling holidays.
And we're miles from that £25 at the moment, Steve.
I mean, it's 125 quid, yeah.